I've been working on an Echo PB-251 handheld blower, and I've come across something a little unusual. I think it might help some people out there diagnose their problems. This particular one here, I was running it, and I was running fine, and suddenly just stopped. So I started looking into it a little bit, and I had spark. In fact, I had a nice healthy spark. I had compression. I had a good spark plug. In fact, I changed the spark plug just to see if that was it. Checked the fuel flow. I was getting fuel through the carburetor. I even actually put some fuel into the cylinder to see if I could get anything. Then I noticed that all it would do was just kind of give me a real weak, kind of a pop, pop, pop. It didn't want to run. So I really tore into it and started looking at it, and I thought, you know, it just sounds like it's got really a retarded spark. Wouldn't start, wouldn't run, just kind of give me a weak pop, 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 and that was about it. So I checked the flywheel key, and this particular one here, the flywheel, the key is actually part of the flywheel, so if it strips the flywheel key out, you can't just replace the key, you have to replace the whole assembly, the whole flywheel. Then I was searching online, and I got to looking at some specifications for this thing, and I actually had some printed out that was related to the Magneto armature, and it had some resistance values in there, so I started looking at those. And I was a little bit skeptical at first, because like I said, I was getting really a nice healthy spark. I just couldn't understand why this thing wouldn't run, because I had everything I needed to run. So I did some resistance measurements on the old one, and I found out that my primary resistance was, for the old coil, was 7,900 ohms for the primary, and for the secondary it was 10.5K. And the actual specifications call out for the primary 160 to 400 ohms and 2.5 to 3.2K ohm resistance for the secondary side. And so I got to looking at that, and I thought, well, that's pretty far off. But what I thought was kind of funny is I was getting this nice healthy spark, so I still couldn't figure out why it wouldn't run. So I took a little gamble, and I bought one. Ouch! $90 with shipping. It's like something like $75 for the part, and then of course the shipping is always $15, $20. And so I got this thing in. I made some measurements on the new coil, and I found out the new coil was primary 330 ohms, secondary 2800 ohms, which falls smack dab in the middle of the specification. And this fixed my problem. The thing is good as new. But I also want to say, you know, if the rest of the machine's in good shape, like this one was, I mean, I hate to just throw them away and buy another one when I can, you know, spend some money and fix this one. But $90 is kind of steep. I mean, that's more than halfway to a new one. And on the resistance measurement itself, I measured, for the primary, I measured between the stop terminal and the ground, and that's where I made my primary measurement. My secondary measurement was from the spark plug end to the ground, and like I said, the one that I had was way off. As you can see, my numbers there, it's just a lot different. And what I found so funny was that I was getting such a nice spark and just couldn't believe it wasn't running. But I think what it was that the spark was very retarded, because that's kind of how it sounded when it was trying to run. I was going to say also, in part of that specification sheet that I printed out, the air gap there you can see is between 12 and 16. That's the air gap that goes between the flywheel, the magnet part of the flywheel, and the armature at these locations here. So you just take a feeler gauge and measure in there, and then tighten the two screws down, and that's pretty much all there is to it. There's one other thing I learned about this thing looking at the spec sheet. Apparently, I always thought that the timing on these were fixed. you know, because there's nothing that moves. The Magneto armature doesn't move. The flywheel is locked into position. So I always assumed it was a, you know, a set timing. But according to the spec sheet, this thing actually has some kind of ramp technology, and as the engine speed increases, the spark advance also increases up to about 30 degrees before top dead center at 7,000 RPM. And another thing I noticed on the spec sheet too was it has some kind of electronic speed limiter, and I assume it's built into that armature. I don't know how it works. I don't know if it, you know, beyond some certain speed it starts to miss every other spark, or, you know, every other compression stroke it misses a spark to slow it down, or if it retards the timing. So anyway, I just made this video. I thought it was a little unusual what I found here. You know, ordinarily, you know, you got compression, you got the timing is right. In other words, the flywheel is not stripped out. The flywheel key is not broke. You got a good spark plug and you got fuel. You know, by golly, it ought to run, but not always. My opinion here is that the Magneto failed in such a way that it just retarded the timing, even though I was getting a really good spark. So anyway, I hope this helps somebody fix their PB-251 echo blower.